Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Fish. This is the weekly series that hasn't been so weekly recently, where I answer your questions on Discord. So if you got a question for a future episode, make sure you're part of the server. It's a fun time. I've been out of town at Gearfest, which was crazy. Can confirm the Marshall Wall is exactly as loud as you think it is. And a lot has happened in the guitar world the past week that we should talk about. So smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. That actually really helps out. Let's jump into your questions. Smaff asks, any thoughts on the new PRS Miles Kennedy signature? Yes, so many thoughts. I am a massive Alter Bridge fan. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. I've been so stoked for these ever since we got the first Sasquatch sighting quality images of the guitar. So PRS dropped their quote-unquote Tele Killer, the NF53, and with it, Miles Kennedy's long-anticipated signature, the first signature model based on the platform. These were terribly kept secrets, and they broke the internet. So let's talk about the PRS Tele first. PRS names always refer to the specs in some way, and in this case, NF53. NF stands for the narrow field pickups, and the 53 because it's inspired by one of Paul's favorite guitars made in 1953. Wonder which one it is. 53 could also apply to the 53,535,353% of viewers who aren't subscribed, so here's your quick reminder to do that if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new uploads. Thank you, and back to guitars. The NF53 is launching in black dog hair, blue Mateo, McCarty Tobacco Sunburst, and white dog hair. Swamp Ash bodies, bolt-on maple necks, and maple fingerboards with outline bird inlays. I'm a big fan of the one in black, especially. It looks so cool. But already, just by looking at it, unlike the Silver Sky versus a vintage Strat, you can see it's inspired, but it's not a near direct copy of a vintage Tele. When I picked one up just to feel it at Gearfest, it was kind of surprising. The neck and the control layout are also much more PRS than they are traditional Tele. It's got a nice, thick, vintage style maple neck, and the fingerboard radius is even PRS's standard 10 inches, whereas vintage Teles tend to be even rounder than that. Again, if we look to the Silver Sky that was vintage Strat inspired, that has a 7.25 inch fingerboard radius, super round. Just another thing that illustrates the different approaches between the two. This is much more PRS doing their own thing with a classic design. The bridge is surprisingly interesting too, at least if you're a super guitar gear nerd like me. So clearly it's reminiscent of the vintage Tele ashtrays with brass barrel saddles, but instead of 3 2-string barrels, they've gone with 2 3-string barrels. But why? Well, dear viewer, I'm so glad you asked. So traditional Tele thinking says that brass barrels are a big part of what gives a Tele its twang. I have no idea if that's true or not, but by doing it this way with the 2 barrels, you can have 2 springs spread apart, securing each saddle instead of just one. So they've been able to create a vintage style Tele bridge with brass barrels and also remove the uncomfortable sides of the ashtray. No longer will they get in the way of picking or in the way of palm muting. I love this about PRS hardware. It tends to be vintage inspired, so it doesn't feel alien and still has those vintage sonic qualities, but they also put their own modern twist on it, like on the McCarty, 2 pneumatic inspired, but the tailpiece lets you top load strings. Genius. So simple, but so convenient. Anyways, so the bridge is cool, but the main standout with these new Tele Killers is obviously the narrow field pickups. The entire model name highlights the pickups. And PRS puts narrow fields in other guitars, right? Like there are narrow fields in the PRS Studio model. These are clearly quite different though. They're narrow field DDs, DD standing for deep dish. Essentially they have taller bobbins to fit more winds, and there's extra metal in between the pole pieces, so you've got like a Morse code style dot dash pattern, the idea being a strong, focused, and narrow magnetic field. It's got a 3-way switch, and you can't split the pickups. There's no push-pulls. I guess they're trying to get as close to an overwound single coil tone as possible, while also maintaining the hum canceling benefits. And then on to the Miles Kennedy model. It's based on the same platform, but with a few key differences. It's also got a swamp ash body, a bolt-on maple neck, maple fingerboard with 10-inch radius, comes in antique white, black, hunter's green, tricolor sunburst, and vintage natural, all with blacked out headstocks. Miles Kennedy's owl is on the truss rod cover. You know, just add an extra bird, why not? And I was very surprised when I picked this one up at GearFest. 1, it feels incredible. 2, the neck is actually slightly thicker than the one on the NF53. Like, I know he loves his vintage tellies. He played a lot of those on recent tours. I just, for some reason, assumed that his signature would be a more modern take on the base model in every way, especially given the bands and music he's associated with. Nope, he's gone very vintage, but with some modern upgrades like locking tuners that the NF53 doesn't have. The pickups are narrow field MKs. These look more like a standard pickup, no dot dash pattern, and these are supposed to sound like the exact midpoint between a humbucker and a single coil. They also apparently have more of a mid-range bite, which is perfect for rock, and the control layout is very different configuration, and it also has a 5-way blade to split the coils. It has a push-pull tone, but it doesn't split the pickups. So what does it do? Well, Alter Bridge has some huge riffs and rhythm tones, right? When he was using the Tele for those big riffs, he was rolling off the high end with the tone knob, make it sound more like he was playing with humbuckers. But now with this, the push-pull is a preset high-end shave to make the treble pickup sound like a full humbucker. So you just pull up on the tone knob and it goes from single coil to a humbucker sound. That's super cool. Going back to the original question, thoughts on the Miles Kennedy model? I love it. I love it so much. How could I not? Again, I think the blacked out one looks the coolest, but I'd take any of them. I will fully and proudly admit the fanboyism is super strong on this one. I've been such a huge Alter Bridge fan for so long. The solo on Isolation is still one of my favorites of all time. You know, Miles Kennedy is a frontman, but he's an amazing player too. So well deserved. PRS is really going hard with the bolt-ons lately, but again, I really like how these are creative reimaginings of guitars that have been around for 7 decades. Quick maths. We move. A lot of brands just slap their own headstock on a traditional Tele and call it a day. And in fairness, some of them are amazing guitars in their own right, but it's much more difficult to do what PRS have done, where it's very reminiscent of the inspiration while simultaneously being something very much of their own. And also they've done it in a way where it doesn't fall into the uncanny valley and people fucking hate it. It's the opposite. Everyone I talked to at GearFest loved them. It's just very impressive, and on a personal note, it comes at the perfect time now that I'm entering my full dad guitar phase. I really want a Miles Kennedy guitar. But those are just my thoughts. Here's where I'll throw it to you. PRS, Tele, that's breaking the internet. Love it, you hate it. If I get a Miles Kennedy model to demo, will you watch it? Any and all thoughts, leave them down below. Speaking of going full dad though, you should avoid doing that with the thing in your pants. And I'm of course talking about today's sponsor, Ridge, who are redefining the wallet. You definitely knew where that segue was going, right? Right? And Ridge isn't just a sponsor. I've been using them for a couple of years now, and I absolutely love it. There's no way I'm going back. I love the sleek modern form factor that can fit into your front pocket, the durable plates made of aluminum, titanium, or carbon fiber, or RFID blocking, and each wallet comes with a lifetime guarantee. You guys know, you've used traditional wallets. They get bulky with unused loyalty cards, old receipts, and that's just not practical for modern people, and it doesn't happen with Ridge. They have over 30 colors and styles to choose from for yourself, and speaking from experience, they make fantastic birthday gifts for your hard-to-shop-for friends. This time they sent me 3 of the most popular designs to check out: raw forged carbon, burnt Damascus steel, and the most over-the-top premium design, 24 karat gold. Amazing. You can even now replace the cash strap on the back with an AirTag holder, so you'll never lose that wallet again. They have over 50,000 5-star reviews, so if you want to see why so many people are switching over to the Ridge wallet and love it, heading over to ridge.com/Agufish. And for you guys, if you use my code Agufish, you'll get 10% off your order and free worldwide shipping. Link will also be in the description, and of course, clicking helps support the channel by letting them know that I sent you. And while you're checking them out, let's get back into your questions. Sick asks, thoughts on the new Ritchie Faulkner Gibson Custom V that sold out within hours? Man, at this point, it just doesn't surprise me anymore. $7,000 custom shop Gibson, limited to 100 pieces, sold out within 24 hours. Although I do wonder how many went to scalpers. But it was kind of funny, the online discourse sometimes devolves into fuck Gibson, they're so overpriced, the quality sucks, there are so many better guitars with better specs for the money, why would anyone ever buy a Gibson? But when we were going through the Sweetwater distribution center and we saw the guitars going out to customers, it was like 1 in 5, maybe even 1 in 4 was a Gibson. Plus, the main audience for these custom shop collectibles isn't affected as much by silly things like the rising cost of living. But also, people have been asking Gibson to do things out of the ordinary, and this Faulkner model is definitely not your standard V. So this model obviously takes a lot of cues from the 2018 Epiphone signature, which in turn was inspired by a flying V he got in 2011 when he first joined Judas Priest. At the time, he realized he needed a guitar with a Floyd, didn't want to take all the wood out of a Les Paul, thought the SG was too thin, but since he was joining a legendary metal band, he decided on a metal shape, and so had a Floyd thrown into a V. Customized it later on with an EMG 5766 set and a double pickguard with a single volume to give it more of a signature aesthetic. The Epiphone was essentially an affordable, faithful recreation of that Flying V custom, with Faulkner's custom 12th fret inlay and a Judas Priest headstock graphic. The neck also had an aged gloss finish, basically what Epiphone calls their matte finish, to make the neck feel a little quicker, a little more worn down, and overall to make the guitar feel like a more modern take on the V. And I am not a Flying V guy, but man, I really enjoyed my time with that one. 2017, 2018, that was a golden period for Epiphone signatures. It was a different time for Epiphone too, where they were doing cool independent projects. Like, there was no Gibson Faulkner production model at the time. But that brings us back to this latest release, and it is following Gibson's new strategy of releasing a custom shop model with an outrageous price tag that gets everyone talking about it, and let's be real, drooling a bit. I'm not sure that this is one that'll get the Gibson USA release. That would be pretty cool, where it's like the Adam Jones Les Paul and it's a custom USA hybrid. Pelham blue Flying V with a non-bound body, non-bound ebony fingerboard with dot inlays, and it's still got the Floyd Rose and the EMGs. Actually, a US-made stripped-down workhorse version could be pretty dope. An Epiphone release later down the line, I'm pretty damn confident about though. They released essentially the same thing 5 years ago. People still love that guitar. Just make it Pelham blue. Sorted. I'm curious to see if they drop any other colors, because Faulkner has also played a white Gibson V with a Floyd, and that looks sick. And if this does well and they decide to make a Faulkner collection, he's got loads of cool Gibsons actually, like a black V custom with gold hardware and a string-through plate. That'd be a sick production run, so you have the simplified control layout and the 5766 set, but you don't have to deal with the Floyd. He's got an 81 Black Beauty, it's a Norland, so it's got the thin neck, volute and everything. It's loaded with triple EMGs. Also got a gold selector and gold pickup ring, and I am so down for this to be a production model, especially if they drop it in Pelham blue. Could you imagine? Anyways, getting carried away with guitars that don't exist. Let's calm down, bring it back. Actually, those are my only thoughts on it. It's cool, it's expensive, can't wait for the Epiphone version. Here's what I'll throw out to you. Thoughts on Faulkner's new Flying V? You gonna try to snag the Epi when it drops? Any other Faulkner models you think would be cool for a production run? Let me know what you're thinking down below. Rusty Offset Gang asks, so the Hot Dogger Kramer 84s at Sweetwater, what do you think? Yeah, the hot dog guitar. So this is another thing that I saw at Gearfest, and I was straight up like, what the hell is this and why? How the fuck did anybody get a Kramer signature? So it's a Kramer 84, same specs and everything as the other versions, alder body, bolt-on maple neck with the satin finish, single JB, one volume, Floyd Rose 1000. I mean, it is a classic super shredder. It's got the banana headstock and everything, which looks even more like a banana because it's actually yellow. The only difference between this one and a normal 84, and I don't know if you noticed because it's pretty fucking subtle, but for an extra $200, you can have hot dogs plastered all over it, and the Kramer logo is written in ketchup. Yeah, so funny story about this. Sweetwater had a few of us come in early for a secret mystery unreleased guitar video, and they didn't give us any hints, any clues, just that I definitely like it. So I was thinking, oh my god, is it going to be like a Gibson Prophecy, PRS 30-inch baritone? That would be awesome. And yeah, nah, it was the Kramer Hot Dog. My first reaction was like, what in the fuck, guys? It is too early in the morning for this nonsense. But then I learned the story behind it. Basically, it started life as an April Fool's joke. Kramer posted this ridiculous hot dog guitar, and basically every time from then that Kramer went to Sweetwater, they'd bug him about it. Like, hey, you posted this thing, when's it coming out? And so eventually Sweetwater just beat Kramer into submission, and they were like, okay, you got it, I guess. So yeah, it's a Sweetwater exclusive. I don't know who's trolling who in this story, but I love it. Trolling a friend is literally one of the best reasons to make a guitar or a pedal. Revv's chat breaker came into being because they were literally trying to troll their designer. And it's actually pretty sick, by the way. It's a blues breaker style overdrive combined with Revv's signature flavor. Also a Sweetwater exclusive, at least for North America. Sweetwater just down for stupid shit, man. I love it. As long as it's fun, they're in. Yeah, Kramer. They did it. They made a joke, a real thing that you can buy and play if you want to, I guess. But yeah, here's what I'll throw it to you. Stupidly amazing or amazingly stupid? Por qué no los dos? Leave your thoughts on the hot dog guitar down below. Now it's time to talk about some other new releases of the week. Keep this on your radar. EVH dropped some new stuff. It's not the semi-hollow, not yet. Now, EVH, before they had their affordable import line and their US custom line, and now they have something in between. They just dropped an MIJ Series EVH Signature Wolfgang. This is so cool. It comes in ivory and in stealth black, and this is a high-end production version of the US Signature Wolfgangs. Basswood bodies, quarter-sawn maple necks with graphite reinforcement, ebony fingerboards, 12 to 16-inch compound fingerboard radii, spoke wheel truss rod adjustment, EVH Wolfgang pickups, right? So like classic EVH specs in a high-end guitar, and then just like the USA models, they have stainless steel frets. Hell yes. Now, this will annoy the tremolo snubs though, and my god, y'all are vocal, but it comes with an EVH branded Floyd Rose 1000. Personally, I have no problems with the 1000, but everyone complained about the Jackson American Series Soloist coming with a 1000 instead of an original, and yeah, in fairness, the MJ Jacksons made in the same place use a Goto 1996T. That's the superior trem that everyone should be using anyways, but this is not a conversation that I want to rehash, so we move. Anyways, the Floyd is equipped with a D-tuner, and most importantly, the guitar comes with a big red kill switch. So these are really cool. Signature USA custom EVH specs at high-end production guitar prices, made at Fujijin, one of the most reputable factories in the world. Fender's always had a strong relationship with guitars made in Japan, and recently they've been making a concerted effort to make them available in the US. They brought back the HM Strat, the high-end Gretches made in Japan. With the rock and metal-oriented specialty brands, Jackson and Charvel have their respective MJ series, and now it's EVH's turn. And I'll be honest, I didn't see this one coming. The perception I always got from the displays at the NAMM shows and everything is that as far as specialty brands went, EVH was the last priority by a good margin, at least when it comes to guitars. As a metal fan and a core kid, EVH amps are everywhere, and yet here they are. I can't wait for an MIJ Stripe series because these are awesome. There are now premium stainless steel fret equipped EVHs being made at a couple $1,000 less than what it cost you to pick up a USA one. Then Revv drops their newest pedal at Gearfest, the Chat Breaker. It's a blues breaker inspired overdrive, but with Revv's signature tightness and high fidelity voicing added. And as I mentioned before, this started out as just them trolling their designer. Like, they asked ChatGPT to design an overdrive pedal just so they could take the diagram to their designer. Hey man, ChatGPT is coming for your job. So they spent a couple hours going back and forth with the AI, showed the result to the designer, and he's like, yeah, that's not even gonna turn on, but I can make it turn on. So ChatGPT got them about 70% the way there, but an actual human finished it. I'm super surprised that when prompted to create an overdrive, ChatGPT chose a blues breaker instead of a tube screamer, but that's not me complaining at all. The market does not need another tube screamer. I actually have a chat breaker, it's pretty cool. I really like the case design, and I find it super interesting to see all the different ways people are using AI in so many different contexts to create things. It's a wild space, but more importantly, the pedal actually sounds good. Only a couple hundred of these joke-turned-real pedals will be made, and I love how the only review on Sweetwater right now is by ChatGPT. This whole thing is ridiculous. Moving on from nonsense, Corey Wong's Stratocaster now comes in two new colors, Daphne Blue and Seafoam Green. And his Fender signature is actually more interesting than initially looks, right? Because it kind of just looks like a Strat, but it has a slightly scaled down older body, a slightly modified headstock shape, a D-shaped maple neck. The rosewood fingerboard has a compound 10 to 14 inch radius, and it comes with his signature Seymour Duncan clean machine pickups. So a lot going on here. Love the new colors for this unique model. Tom DeLonge knew it all the way back in 1999. Aliens exist, but also Strats look their best in pastels. And actually, it's been like weeks since this so-called weekly series has dropped, so if for some reason you just can't get enough of me telling you about guitar shit since last time, in case you missed it, continuing this channel's theme of being a Gibson Guitar Lawyer's hit list, a demo of my Herridge H150 Custom Core Artisan Aged dropped, and this thing is a Murphy Lab killer. Straight up, I think this is a better guitar than my Murphy Lab 68 reissue Les Paul Custom, which is already a sick guitar. It's very expensive, as you'd expect from an heirloom quality guitar, but it's also a couple $1,000 less than the Murphy, so good value, kind of? Question mark? I don't know, man. I love this guitar. It sounds stupid good through the Victory Kraken, and let me know if you want a tier list or a shootout between high-end Les Paul types. It might be interesting to see how it ABs compared to the Navigator to the Eastman. Also, the number of comments I got on that video that were like, yeah, I'm sure it's nice, but that headstock is just not fucking it. Listen, totally get it. I addressed it in the video, but it put me off the brand for a long time too, because guitarists are visual creatures. I'm so convinced they would sell so many more guitars if they just made that headstock less rectangly. Then another one, but in a very different price range, I dropped a demo of the PRS SE McCarty, and listen, this week has all been about their Tele Killer and the Miles Kennedy, for good reason, but do not sleep on these. SEs are some of the best value workhorses out there right now, and this is the best SE ever. It's so good. Then dropped a demo of Archetype Tom Morello, and I didn't grow up listening to Rage Against the Machine or to Audio Slave, so personally I thought it was a fun video to make, trying to use the plugin to replicate the unfamiliar style of a Morello track. The comment section was wild for this one though. Some people were mad at Tom Morello for being too communist, some people were mad that he put his name on a product and was doing a capitalism, some people were mad because Tom Morello apparently sucks as a guitar player. I don't know, man. I thought it was a fun plugin, and there's a free trial to just mess around with it and make noise. Not a tone I'd normally use, but it's got an accurate digital recreation of the whammy. Best pedal ever. Uploaded a Fender specialty brand haul unboxing. Charvel's been absolutely killing it, so we got a Phil Segrosso Silverburst model coming up, as well as an EVH 5153 Stealth. Dude, this amp is fucking massive, both in tone and in physical size, my god. But it's about time we got some 5153 EVH tones on the channel. You're definitely going to be hearing more of that in future videos. And if you missed the last episode of Ask a Fish a couple weeks ago, we talked about the new Squier Paranormal series editions, like the Derek Whibley that's not a Derek Whibley, as well as Dave Grohl and Kirk Hammett Epiphone leaks and rumors. Links to all those will be in the cards and in the description. And that will do it for this week's episode of Ask a Fish. Massive shout out to my amazing patrons. Their names are up on the screen right now. If you like what I do, consider joining them, and you'll get bonus extras like tabs to all the demo tracks. You can also bookmark my Sweetwater or Toman affiliate links, or grab yourself some merch. It literally all goes back into the channel and into making better guitar content for you guys, so I really appreciate it. Social media and links to everything we talked about are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.
It's ridiculous.